For the last few days I've been trying to make, frames. But frames for weaving. Now, here is a purchased example of a frame. The frame was purchased, the weaving was done by my wife. And what I'm trying to do is recreate something like this frame so we can actually make the frame as well as the weaving part. So it's been a couple of days now and I've tried different things. This is my first attempt that I'm not happy with for several reasons. First of all, the aging of the wood is not like it should be. I don't know if you can really see on the camera, but this side has a very nice grain to it, whereas the grain is not pronounced so well on this side. And that has to do with the orientation of the wood when I manufacture the grain. Also, the antiquing finish to the wood is not even. It's very blotchy and varies from each piece of wood, and I think that has to do again with the orientation of the wood when I try to put the nice finish on like this side has. You can see a little closer here, you can see that's not very smooth at all. It's worn like a piece of driftwood, whereas this side is not the same. We also have a problem with the frame not being quite square, and that comes from taking a long piece of this wood and cutting the 45-degree angles. If you're using a miter saw, you're probably going to be very close to the 45-degree angle, but when you've drawn a line on and try to cut to the line, sometimes you're not quite perfect. So I think I've solved that problem, and we're going to go through a resolution I've come up with for all of three of the things that I'm unhappy with. So that's the aim of the video, and we'll get started on that. This piece of wood is cedar. It's 1.5 by 1.5. That's what we started with. And then we cut this. We sunk the saw in 5/8 of an inch on this side, and we did the same to that side. Now, taking a look at this side, we'll get it closer so you can see the grain. The grain is more pronounced on this side than it is on that side. So what I tried to do, every side that I made, all four sides, get this pronounced grain facing the same way. You don't want to be looking at this and then in the piece up here looking at something like that. It just doesn't look right. So that's one of the things that I tried to correct as I made this particular piece. In order to get the grain on here, we're going to use a wire wheel. That has produced a roughness in the grain, and I'm sure you can see the difference between this and that. And we're going to do the whole piece on the wire wheel so that we have a nice grain effect across the whole surface. So here is our finished piece. A pretty nice looking grain on all sides. This started out as an old railing and had been previously stained and verithaned, so I wanted to make sure I got it well brushed so that we'd get some penetration when we do the treatment for making it look as if it were barn board. There are a number of videos on the web that show you how to make the treatment for this, and all it is some fine steel wool left overnight in regular vinegar, and that's what I have in here. And we're going to coat this with that solution right now, after which we're going to use some water-diluted, water-based paint to kind of get that gray look as well. So you need a pretty good coating of this stuff on here. Just use a little paintbrush. And to get the other side here, turn it around and coat this side as well. Now, as you can see, it's looking darker as we put this on, but it won't turn gray until it dries. I think we might have that coated. Now there's one side that doesn't show. It's up to you whether you want to do that, but just for the sake of having it look all the same, this is going to be the side that's against the wall, so no one's going to see it anyway, but we might as well do that. It's not much to do and it'll make it look all the same. So that's going to have to dry now before we can do anything else. So here's that same piece that we had just coated on the video with the vinegar and steel wool solution. It didn't really look gray enough for me, or dark enough if you want, and so I gave it a second coat, and then I expedited the drying of that second coat with a heat gun. You don't want to get too close with a heat gun because it might scorch the wood a little bit, but it does dry it up quicker, and it definitely got darker. So we have some white water-based paint here that we've added just a little bit of water to make it a little thinner, and I'm going to put some of that on. But before I do that, I'm going to put some more of this liquid on so we have a wet surface to work with. This is the same liquid with the from the steel wool mixture, and just coat it up. Get it all wet on that side that we're going to work on. And we're going to need a nice clean piece of cloth here to spread the paint around. Put the paint on. Like so. And as soon as it's on, get it off. And we'll do that to the other two sides of this that could possibly be showing. Same process. After it's reasonably dry, you can put it together with a brad nailer. All I did is turn it this way up, get things nicely matched up, and nail it through the bottom part, like down about here, so that the nails don't protrude in the opening. They go through the other pieces of wood at the back here. And this one definitely looks better than the first try. A lot more evenly matched sides. The grains look somewhat similar. And we're going to have a look now out in the garage where I have my miter saw, how I determined to make these sides exactly all the same. And we'll take a look at that in a few moments. We're out in the garage taking a look at the miter saw. And let's see if I got a piece of wood here. What you can do is, in order to stop this, you need a stop here. You'll get them all exactly the same length if you have a stop here. So I have a machine shop, so I made up a fixture for this, and we'll take that fixture off and have a look at it. But if you don't have the capability to manufacture some kind of a stop, you could even put a pair of vice grips on here in the right position and have it stop this where you need to. Okay, here's the fixture. It's made out of a length of 1 by 1 hollow square pipe. And we have a bolt that goes through the pipe and into a tapped and threaded hole in this piece here, which goes under the bottom of the two rails. These rails were about, well, a little less than 1/2 inch, so I made 1/2 inch half holes in the bottom of here. Now, I did that with a mill on the milling machine. And if you have two different miter saws or saws that have different spacings, in other words, from here to here, maybe a little more or a little less, you can take and put multiple half holes in this to accommodate that.